Greetings to you, my people. I'm back with another video here. And this video is going to be about words and language. As I've said many times before, we are in a language prison. And I've also stated that knowledge is the key to getting out of that cell, out of that jail. Now let's start with the word cell. They call it a prison cell. That's not by accident. Your body's made up of cells. Your prison cell is actually your refuge. As I've mentioned in other videos, if for some reason you were thrown into a jail cell, and let's say you hadn't given them your name, which you shouldn't, after 24 hours, typically, they have to let you go. They don't even know who you are, right? However, during that 24 hours, or whatever period it is, they'll offer you food or water or something that they think that you will want, and you have to step across that barrier of your cell. And once you step over that barrier, you are no longer in your refuge. You have just contracted with them. So that's fairly odd. Interesting for sure. Here's another one. Sovereign. I've been speaking about sovereign lately quite a bit. Sovereign is the highest authority of all. There's nothing higher in authority than a sovereign. The only thing equal to a sovereign is another sovereign. Right? We've been over that. Citizen. Next one is citizen. A citizen is subject to the government and to the sovereign. And this sort of should clear up the misunderstanding that most people have when they call someone a sovereign citizen. That's silly. You can't be above something and below it at the same time. You know, unless you're huge, right, and you're above and below it. But you can't be above something and below it at the same time, right? It's a misnomer. Here's another one that I've spoken a lot about. U.S. citizen. A U.S. citizen is a corporate instrument. It's property, or res, R-E-S. Res means corporate property. And as you can see below, we have resident. And as you can see how I've written here, it is government property. If you are a resident, you are owned. If you have an address, you are owned. I don't have an address. I have a domicile. Big difference. You can see how they trap everybody. Here's another one for you. Civil. You've heard of this? Civil suit, civil rights. You know, there's another oxymoron there. Civil rights. A civilian has no rights. A civilian has to acquiesce to the government. He's owned by the government. He gets his privileges from the government. So civil is something that would be legal, or also known as statutory. Versus criminal. Civil is legal, criminal is lawful or law. There must be a damaged party with a verifiable claim. Whereas in anything legal or civil, there must be a contract that you have signed complying to that statute, code, proclamation, criminal? It's very simple. It's common law. Did you infringe on the life, liberty, or property of another, or due process? I suppose a non-police officer could infringe on someone's due process if they, they're a sovereign and they saw the other alleged sovereign doing something, and he decided to be the, the prosecutor as well, and he shoots the guy. That sort of takes away his due process, right? His right of due process. He's dead. So I guess a man or a woman could also infringe on someone's right to due process. Below that, you see we have affidavit. Affidavit is the court. It's the law. When you file an affidavit, that is the law. I don't care if your affidavit says that, Mickey Mouse is your brother. That's the law. Can that law be refuted? Sure. However, the affidavit is the law. It is the court. It's the piece of paper. It's the 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Below that, I have written here code. Now, you have to follow codes, right? There's the penal code. There's all of these codes that they call laws. They're not laws. They're codes. A code is an encryption. It's something hidden, right? You have to encode it, and then you have to decode it. So, as you can see, as I've said many times before, they hide the truth in plain sight. They're telling you right there that we've scrambled it so that you can't comprehend it. It's encrypted. So, no, I don't think I will follow your code. Thank you very much. Along with code, other words that you get from governments and authorities: proclamation, right? The Emancipation Proclamation. A proclamation is simply an official statement by a governmental official. That's it. It's not a law. It isn't ordained in any way. It isn't enacted into law in any sense, unless it is. Then it becomes a law. But when it is a proclamation, it's exactly what that is, a proclamation, an official statement, period, nothing else. Statute pertains to non-living entities, such as, statue. Not that it would pertain to a statue, but I've said this many times. When you agree to be a U.S. citizen, you are now a statutory and owned person, not a living man or woman. Another one, die. Obviously, if you die, you're dead, right? Well, die also means combined, like die cast. As I've mentioned before in my other videos, as a singular man or woman, you are not combined with anything. You're sovereign. However, when you combine with something else, a corporation, any other entity, even another man or woman, now you're incorporated, which means you're a dead entity. At least that incorporation is. You can't be, you're not conjoined physically, correct? Right. So it's an incorporation, which means you now enter into civil, because the government does have jurisdiction over incorporations. It absolutely does. Always has. And lastly, here's one, charge. Oh, you've been charged with this, you've been charged with that, right? Charge means a contract expense. Even if you've been charged with murder, it's still a contract expense. Sorry about the heater, the furnace. So that's all I had room for on this board here. I hope, you know, this clears some things up for you guys. You can see it instead of just hearing my voice speak it. There are many, many more. Many, 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 many more. And most of them are what I've said before, the truth hidden in plain sight. If you syntax the words, you can see that you're being presumed to be something that you are not. And when you agree to being that label or that word, now you're agreeing to be owned. You're agreeing to be a statutory citizen, a statutory person, it's an owned commercial instrument owned by a foreign corporation called the United States of America, which again is different from the continental United States. The United States of America is completely different from the 50 sovereign states. Very, very vital for people to know this. Doesn't mean you can't be a U.S. citizen. Sometimes you may want to use that designation when it pleases you and it benefits you, and you can do that, as I've mentioned in my previous videos. Just because you entered that contract for whatever reason to be a citizen at that point in time, you have not surrendered your sovereignty just because you did not explicitly reserve your sovereignty in that particular contract. That's a withstanding Supreme Court case. So once again, guys, I hope it helped. Tried to make it short. It's not that short. Love you guys. I'll be back soon. I'm going to be making a podcast. Now, my podcast is probably going to be absolutely offensive. It's going to be for comedy. It's very possible the name will be For Unlawful Comedic Knowledge. You know, put the first letter of those words and then make a word, yeah. And, you know, just because I feel like I might be able to reach more people if I'm acting like an idiot. And plus it's fun. I mean, I like to be funny. But, you know, this is going to be cringe funny. You know, you're going to go, oh, man. Still laughing. You're still getting formation. But I'm forcing you to, I will be forcing you to think of things in ways which you may not have chosen on your own. Sorry about that. All right, guys. Great to be here again. I'll see you soon. Take care.